Well, while I've been waiting for the ammo order to come in to test some of the previous rifles I ordered, they happened to lure me in again, I guess. So this is a Berdan 2, for those that are not in the know, don't know what a Berdan 2 is. This would have been the standard Russian infantry rifle from 1870 until 1891, when they would adopt the 1891. Obviously enough, if you want kind of a more detailed rundown as to what this is, there's a good forgotten weapons video on it. He does make one minor mistake, and this rifle is actually proof of it, as unusual as that is. But in any case, this is kind of what it looks like. As far as why would I buy another Ethiopian gun after my track record with the previous ones? Well, as I had mentioned in my some of my previous comments, and I think I mentioned it in one of the videos as well, there's really about 1.5 reasons to be buying anything from this Ethiopian stockpile. And that would be if you care more about having the historic relic, the piece of history, quote unquote, than you do, about it being a really nice looking example or a really nicely functioning example, good shooter and all that stuff. And so if you care more about that aspect of it, then yes, it makes sense to buy one of these. And then the kind of half a reason is that some of these models are actually genuinely quite uncommon, at least in the United States. And so that, could certainly be another motivating factor to make a purchase on one of these, because these are not very cheap guns at all, and they're not common in the United States, even though I think something around 3 million of them were made in the past. So basically, I kind of bought that with that in mind. Basically, I would have been okay getting a wall hanger. Pretty much the only way I could have been disappointed is, if it was just like a barreled action or missing the bolt or something like that. So I'm okay with it. Would have been okay with it if there was, if it was never going to be anything more than a wall hanger. But I actually think that for the most part, I did fairly well. Let me give you some, you've probably already noticed them, but I'll highlight some of the unique aspects of it anyways. So first of all, they drilled this hole through to put in a sling. I don't know why that was necessary. I know they seem to prefer the bottom mounted sling because my Mauser was originally modified into that form as well, but there's actually a sling swivel right there, so maybe they needed one further back. The other thing, as you can see here, this sock has a really nasty crack running through it. Actually, it has two. There's the other one is right there. Action is, looks like they just oiled it pretty heavily. So the action is really quite smooth and all that stuff. Original finish is, well, you can see what that looks like. It's not as bad as some of the other stuff I've received, so in that, as far as finish goes, I'm okay with it. The stock cracks rather, gonna need some repair work. I'll have to look into that. That's kind of the big glaring disappointment. That's really about it. It certainly is repairable as far as I can tell, so not the end of the world. The bore looks really dirty, but you can definitely see rifling. I don't actually happen to have cleaning supplies in the, of an appropriate caliber for this yet, as I just don't have anything of the sort yet, so I don't know how well it's going to clean up, but I suspect it'll do okay. So the other thing that they did is they ran this little piece of cord underneath the stock, and so that would be the other half of their undermounted slings solution. So ordinarily it would have probably been, I believe, either on, I'm not sure if it was on this barrel band or the next, but there would have been a metal loop there. So they didn't import mark it, which is nice. I know that they've done that to some of the antiques, and so that doesn't help the value. Let me give you kind of a look of the underside. So obviously a cleaning rod appears to be, that's where it would have gone. It is missing. So, and here we go as far as the underside goes. And let's take a look here. As far as how it was packed, it was just in a single box, but there was like a second layer of cardboard on the inside. It wasn't poking through or anything because this bolt is actually really quite diminutive, as you can see. So I don't know that it suffered anything from shipping, unless that stock cracked from shipping, but I don't know. Don't think so, but who knows. So this, as I was saying, a small mistake in the Forgotten Weapons video is that he mentions that these were made at Tula and Izhevsk, and doesn't mention that they were actually made in 3 different arsenals. Sestroretsk is the 3rd one, and this actually happens to be from there. It's a 1883 manufacture. Some of these, at least in some of the pictures on their on the website, showed like they had some of the Ethiopian markings on there. I couldn't find any example of that on this particular one. I haven't taken it apart yet, haven't taken off the stock or any of that stuff, but on the surface, I really have not seen any indication of that, at least on anything that's visible. So here's kind of the other side. So that's pretty much all I have on it right now. We can look, see if I can show some of the other markings. You can see there's the Imperial Eagle, various other little initials and proof marks and things. The rear sight's intact. So honestly, I think that considering my expectations, this is actually, I think I did okay. As I said, I was perfectly content to get a wall hanger because these were selling for significantly less than the going rate. I looked at, for example, IMA, International Military Antiques, and I don't know that they have any currently, but they have in the past. And I think the cheapest one that I could find in their old listings was somewhere, in the neighborhood of maybe $1,100 or $1,200. And some of the other, more unusual specimens probably, or maybe it depends on the condition as well, of course, are in the neighborhood of maybe $2,000. There was one on Gunbroker when I made this purchase that already, the bids had already reached well over $800, and I think last I checked, that same one was $1,600. So compared to this being $500, with an option of a $100 hand select fee, which I didn't do, but it's there. I don't know how much you'll get, but overall, I think that, actually this is probably going to be a shooter once the stock gets fixed, and it's not a bad deal. So basically, as I was saying, sorry, I go on tangents, expecting a wall hanger, and then certainly if it's anything better than that, I'd be more than okay with it, and it certainly seems to be. So that's kind of it. I would say that out of the Royal Tiger purchases, none have been flawless, of course, not even close, but this is probably the one that I'm most satisfied with, just because overall the condition for how old this is isn't terrible for how uncommon this is, and the stock repair, is not going to cost me anything because I already have everything I need to complete that myself if I were to decide to go do it. And so, yeah, I guess that's that. Thank you for watching.